Hey everyone, and welcome back to the reboot era. I'm hoping this lighting works. I'm honestly super tired today. It's late, but if you're new here, I've been sharing my journey really throughout this process of being laid off. Today is day 13, just rebuilding and trying to navigate this whole chapter, this new chapter really with intention. And today I'm going to talk about something simple, but I think something that's very powerful, and that's preparedness. I've really come to realize that being prepared isn't about having all of the answers, and rather it's about reclaiming control in a situation where everything feels uncertain. And when I first got laid off, I had absolutely no idea what was coming next. I didn't know what the rest of the day held. I didn't know what tomorrow would hold. I didn't know what emotions I would be experiencing. I was overwhelmed, anxious, and honestly, I just felt underprepared. It's been years since I've interviewed, and I'm sure the first few that I have, I'm gonna fumble and I'm probably gonna ramble like in these videos, and then look back and think, did I even answer the question they asked? But I'm hoping that the shift in my mindset that I've been having a lot today will help me be more prepared for those calls and start really preparing with intention so that I'm not winging it. And not just for interviews, it's how I want to show up and it's how I want to feel. And I just wanted to tell my story. And so a lot of you are familiar with different types of interview methods. One really popular one out there is called the STARS method. And that's where you answer a behavioral based question with situation, task, action, results. I got some really good advice early in my career, back when I was at CVS Health in, my gosh, 2017, maybe even 2016. I met this guy who I was working for, super awesome. I think he was a director at the time. And he told me the best way to prepare for interviews is to write down 5 to 7 different scenarios that you have. And when you go into the interview, use those scenarios for any question that they ask. Because if you memorize those 5 to 7, you can just adapt it for different questions that they might ask. And honestly, ever since then, I will say, as long as I brush up on my 5 to 7 stories, I do feel a lot more confident, and not like that fake confidence where you're like, I've got this, but you truly are like, no, you know what? I studied for the test. I'm ready. It's been a minute since I've dusted off the old binder full of questions, and that binder's in my head. But now I actually created a free worksheet to help anyone who's really in the same boat as me and just trying to figure out how to answer behavioral interview questions without sounding robotic or like blanking out and looking into the abyss. The worksheet that I created will walk you through how to write and rehearse star stories that actually reflect your work. And then you can partner this with ChatGPT if you're starting from scratch or you've never done this before. So the link is going to be down below in the description. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and show you where you can find it as well. Inside the reboot era, with all of these fun resources that I have for you, the STARS interview prep folder is the newest addition. And this here, you can go ahead and just open. And there will be a tutorial for how to use this. That's this YouTube video. I'll cut to the minute exactly where you can go to. So behavioral interview STARS worksheet. You're going to use this worksheet to write and rehearse STARS-based answers that feel confident and authentic, not robotic. What is STARS? So the STARS method is it's a structured approach for answering behavioral interview questions by clearly explaining the situation, the task, the action, and the result. The situation is going to answer the question of what was the context. The task is going to say, what was your responsibility? The action, what specific steps did you take? And then the result, what was the outcome? I've provided this italicized and grayed out example. So an example question is, tell me about a time you led a project under pressure. For the situation, at my previous role as a program manager at CrowdStrike, we had a critical platform migration project scheduled for Q4. Midway through Q3, we learned that a major product release would be delayed unless this migration was completed 6 weeks earlier than planned. What was your responsibility? The task. As the lead program manager, I was responsible for realigning the timeline, managing cross-functional dependencies, and ensuring our team delivered a successful migration under a significantly compressed schedule. Action. What specific steps did you take? I immediately called an emergency sync with all stakeholders and engineering leads. We rescoped deliverables into weekly milestones, removed non-critical tasks, and restructured the Jira board to improve visibility. I also implemented daily 15-minute stand-ups across teams to surface blockers early, and used a burn-down dashboard in Asana to track sprint velocity and risks in real time. Result? What was the outcome? We completed the migration 5 days ahead of the new deadline, unblocked the product release, and avoided a potential multi-million-dollar revenue delay. Leadership recognized our team during the company all hands, and I was later asked to lead 2 additional time-sensitive programs based on this success. This is 1000% made up. I just want to be super clear. I didn't read this before putting it in here. I just threw it into ChatGPT to get an example, and it just must have used some context from the fact that my resume is somewhere in ChatGPT, but also there's a few other things. Like I've used Asana in other roles. We didn't use that at CrowdStrike. But either way, that's a really great example. And all it did was reference things that I've provided in the past. This format's going to help interviewers understand essentially how you've handled real world situations and how you might handle theirs when you start at their company. Things to keep in mind: focus on the impact. Really, how did your actions make a difference? Try to keep it concise but detailed. 1 to 2 minutes per story is ideal. Tailor your stories to match the skills and values in the job posting. So not only the job posting, I will say, if you look at the company, I know Amazon's really big on having their leadership principles. You'll want to try to tailor your answers to match up with leadership principles or any of the values of the company, where you can really like illustrate and showcase like, hey, this is how I align to your company culture. So once you've tailored your stories to match the skills and values of the job posting, try to have 3 strong star stories ready to go, 3 to 5. I prefer 5 to 7, but I think that 3 to 5 for anybody who's doesn't have that much experience is totally fine. Don't read it. You don't want to read it word for word or memorize it word for word so that you can read it. Essentially, just try to give yourself practice answering these questions and remembering what you said and like the main points that you want to call out. If you need help writing your stars responses or your star answers, here's 2 ChatGPT prompts. The first one's basic, so go ahead and copy and paste this prompt. I'm preparing for a job interview and would like help creating star format answers to common behavioral questions. Here's my resume. You can paste or attach your resume, and then here's the job posting. Paste or attach the job description of the posting. And then what ChatGPT is going to do if you paste this whole thing is it's going to start asking you a series of questions, so that based on your job and background, when you provide those short answers, it will create a polished star format response that you can begin to rehearse. For a better one, if you already have a great resume and you want to leverage your resume and cut out some of the back and forth, you can use this second prompt, which same thing, you're going to post the resume, you're going to paste the job posting that you're applying for, and then based on this, ChatGPT will create 5 to 7 tailored star responses for likely behavioral interview questions that align with the key responsibilities and competencies in the job posting. And so it will lay it out this way: what's the question, the situation, the task, the action, and the result. So that will provide you with a really good output. And I think you could probably start there. Once you have your output from ChatGPT, you can actually leverage a tool that I used to use when I was back in university called Quizlet. So I'm bringing this back up and I'm smiling because I haven't used Quizlet in years, but I thought of it and I was thinking this is actually a pretty useful opportunity for Quizlet. So it's a free online learning tool that lets you create and study digital flashcards. It does offer multiple modes of learning, including flashcards, learning, writing, test, and match, making it a powerful tool to reinforce your star-based interview prep. And this is not sponsored in any way. I just thought about this tool and was like, this is a really cool way. What I've done is I've come up with a Quizlet set of 50 common star interview questions. And here's some instructions on how to make it your own or copy and paste it, but I'm actually going to show it to you right now. So if you go ahead and click this link, it's going to redirect you to Quizlet. And right now I'm not logged in. So this is what it will look like if you're not logged in. Now I am logged in. So let me log out because I don't want to be logged in. What I want is to show you what it looks like the first time around. So not logged in, as you can see, you're able to see the flashcards that I've created. And if you flip it over so that it gives you this description, tell me about a time when you worked on a team and a team project that failed. Describe a situation where you had to work with someone who was difficult to get along with. These types of things, they're all these 50 different questions. Then each one, when you flip it over, it gives you the theme. So this is teamwork and collaboration. After 9, you're going to have to sign up for free. So that just might be a really great way to start. I'm going to have to go ahead and log in now. Okay, so once you're logged in fully, you can go ahead and use all of these. You can learn them, which is going to give you practicing with different question formats, and you can see tests. You can actually run through a test. So it will ask you either one side of the flashcard or the other side of the flashcard, and you have to match it and essentially do it. Matching it, a same thing. And then games, you can play games to learn it. I would say for this purpose and using it this way, flashcards are probably the best. And what I would recommend is go ahead and open Zoom if you have Zoom or anywhere on your laptop that you can record yourself and ask yourself the question. Just say, share an example of a time when you coached or mentored someone, and then try your best to look at the camera, take a breath, and go, okay, during my time at X company, I had the opportunity to be a mentor to, and then just start going through your situation, the task, the action, and the result. I think that's probably the best practice. And I did that heavily when I was interviewing for my role at Amazon. And that's actually how I landed it. But I'll tell that story another day. So hopefully this works for you all. I hope you like this tutorial and this video. Remember, preparedness is the way to go. It really just helps you. And please like this, give me a subscribe so you can see more videos that I post. I'm going to have more free content coming every single day for the next at least 30 days. And yeah, I hope everyone's out there kicking butt in their interview process, and we will talk soon. Thank you.